Dom you.
Dom you.
Dom.
Dom you.
Domination University. Welcome to Domination University. We're with Chelsea from the Office of Sex Magic.
Ooh.
Which is, hello, Chelsea. I'm so glad you're here because this is going to be a really sexy episode now, and I'm excited to explore. So, yeah, what are we going to talk about today? What do you want to tell us? Because this is kind of like not only are you a Scorpio.
That is true. I'm actually a double Scorpio.
Oh,
so, yeah, there is a lot of sexual energy in this being as of right now. But today we are going to go over Sex Magic 101. So from energy to creation to how it flows in our lives, how we can utilize this immense power that we have. So let's dive into it, shall we?
Let's do it.
So sex is a taboo art form that we are all very interested in and very, we're very, what is the word?
Is there like
familiar,
but I feel like there's to some extent still a little repressed curiosity.
Definitely repressed, and definitely there's a lot of curiosity that is not explored. But we still are familiar with the form sex, right?
Doing it,
getting down and dirty, baby. But this is an immense energy form. So we can use this for healing, for self-love, for becoming whole, and for manifestation.
Ooh,
yes.
That's what I want to hear about.
Okay.
I'm trying to create all kinds of stuff right now in my life.
Yes.
Rawr.
So let's start with just personal. Okay. So personal exploration of our body, right? How many people have taught you to explore your own body sexually?
Just Cosmo magazine.
Okay.
Started reading when I was
Cosmo.
16.
Yep.
That's it.
Just Cosmo.
I can't even really have a conversation about this with my sisters. Or definitely not my mom.
Really?
Yeah. And I've even tried to ask my mom questions, because I'm very comfortable with my sexuality. It's just not really a conversation that either my sisters or my mother are comfortable talking about with me. Even though I feel like I have a lot to offer. I mean,
see,
I've been exploring it.
It's kind of worldwide, especially in women, to not understand their sexuality. I even remember being a kid or, a teenager and boys talking about masturbating, and no girls would ever fess up to exploring or masturbating or anything, because that was gross when we talked about it, but cool and sexy.
Yeah, or just acceptable.
Or acceptable when men would talk about it. So or young boys. So it's like, how do we break this pattern?
That's a good question. I'm trying to think about why it was not something that I would be totally comfortable, or even just with myself, even like, just recognizing where I could benefit from, sexual release, whether I had a partner or not to do it with.
Yes. Ooh, okay, let's start there. So, sex can be used as a giant healing tool. So, for instance, masturbation is actually a beautiful healing tool. So, let's say you we all understand what intention is, correct?
I hope so.
So I really hope so. So let's say you put an intention behind this masturbation that you want to do by yourself one day, right? Applying ritual to that. Maybe you like a candle. Maybe you like the smell of amber or vanilla. Light it. Create this ritual around it, because this is something sacred to us that has been given to us, but we have been shunned away from it for so long. So applying this ritual to it, maybe there's a specific place that you like. Maybe there's a specific color you like. Imagine you're in this energy field of, let's say, pink or red or orange. And then your intention, what you want to do with this explosive energy, which is an orgasm. And if you don't know what an orgasm is, we need to go in more depth in another episode.
So it sounds like you're basically making it kind of like a communion with the body, kind of like church, but more interesting and like more able to release energy than just like, you know, left brain kind of reciting of text.
So true. So now what you can do with this orgasm energy, you can pull it inside to manifest, right? Instead of releasing it out to clear, you pull it inside to manifest, right? And it shoots up through your crown.
Oh my God.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I've never actually had an orgasm like that. I think mine have all been like outward, kind of like releasing.
Exactly. A lot of people don't know that you can direct the course of the orgasm.
Oh my gosh. So kind of like Kundalini stuff.
Exactly.
So Kundalini as
Tantric,
in like...
all these things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So it's very... And then adding a partner on top of that creates a whole new world of manifesting. And it's really, really, really beautiful to explore. But trying it by yourself is how you can practice using this energy.
So can you tell us more about Tantra and all that stuff? And so like Kundalini, I brought that up. I've worked with Kundalini mostly from belly dance, and we'll explore that because that's, you know, is a great way to work with like sex magic energy and stuff.
Shakti. Oh, yes.
But what can you tell us about, I don't think a lot of people, especially in America, know that much about Tantra and the type of, you know, where you can go with that, either spiritually or energetically, you know, or emotionally, and what type, how that can basically take the intimacy that you might have with, you know, yourself or a partner into like another world.
Absolutely. So it's giving sex a deeper purpose. Does that make sense? To fulfill these things that we need instead of a quick release.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So
it's like a journey?
It's more of the journey. So in Tantra, they don't believe in orgasming. They think that you should reserve that for like making babies and things like that. But it's all about this journey you're on and exploring. The whole journey turns into an orgasm, and it's incredibly electrifying. Let's say your shoulder gets touched in a way and you're like, I never knew that could give me that sensation. Oh my goodness. It's learning how to manipulate that energy. And when I say manipulate, I don't mean in a negative way. I mean learning how to direct the flow of where it's going.
Shaping
it. Yes. So Tantra, I'm not a Tantra expert. I will not claim that, but I have practiced it in relationships and by myself, and what you can see with using that energy is really incredible. You see your body in a different way. You see your partner's energy in a different way. What you really want out of sex, which is really interesting. A lot of us don't even know. A lot of women, like myself included, I've done this several times, is I don't feel like having sex, but I still do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, well, you know, whatever. I can take it. I can take it. Why am I making myself take this? Where is our skewed vision coming from? So really identifying with, this is what I like. This is what fulfills me. This is what makes me feel good. And this is what I can manifest with this energy. So it's really, really awesome.
I like it.
So doing it just to do it does not help our energetic field. That actually takes away from us. So we're giving our power away when we do that, instead of understanding what power is going into our bodies. So as women, we are receivers, correct? Right. So we receive a lot of energy. Also in sex, we receive. So understanding your partner, number one, is so huge in this grand scheme of things, because not only are you having an emotional rapport with them, their energy is literally going inside of your body and inside of your energy field. So if you're not feeling it, don't do that, because that's going to be a detriment to your energetic makeup, and then eventually to your emotional makeup, and then to your physical makeup. So really giving yourself boundaries as well, which is really, really huge and strong. So I want to talk to you about chakras as well and how these correlate. So working with sexual energy, you're going to be working with your lower chakras. So your root chakra and your sacral chakra. And root is the grounding, the home button, if you will. So
that's a great one. Yeah.
Yes. Really feeling your space, feeling where you belong.
Yeah.
If you will. And then moving up to your sacral is where you identify with sexuality, where the sexual power is coming from. What makes it tick? What is your sexuality? That's a really hard question to ask for a lot of people, because there's so many social stigmas around sexuality that we have to be one box or the other. It's hard to ask ourselves those questions, because what if you don't fit in one of those boxes? Well, then I have to deal with that, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to tell my family this, that. It's such an issue right now. But I believe finally things are starting to change after hundreds of years of repression. So that's really awesome. But working with these two chakras specifically can open up a lot of power and energy. So I know you wanted to talk about grounding the root chakra.
Yeah, or actually, sometimes I actually ground the sacral chakra.
Sacral? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a way to kind of like release energy. So you were talking about, like, that was really good example of kind of the basic part of what those chakras kind of do and how they relate in our lives. But there's so much more that we could go into depth that we don't have time for now. So, realizing how we kind of store energy throughout the body and recognizing the benefit of clearing that energy. And sex is just such a beautiful thing that we've been given. The experience of our sexuality should be, is, because it really helps to, kind of release a lot of the emotional baggage that comes along with survival.
Yes.
There can be so many things, for a lot of people, survival can be difficult, and just the different challenges that you have economically, throughout your lives and different relationships and whatnot. Competitive energy comes up a lot in the sacral chakra.
Yes.
So, maybe, sooner than later we'll do more with energy work at DomU, but there's a lot of places that you can go to learn more about your energy. And I think the fact that we're just talking about the importance of that, that wisdom of it. And, this is just one example. And for a lot of people, they may not be ready to delve into the magic, third eye magic,
Exactly.
and stuff like that. So for the average person, sex is a part of your life. And we're just, encouraging you to just be fully liberated and just allow, the experience of that, the healing abilities, and to really make sure that you're just in alignment with, what is true to you, and you release all the social stigma or, bullshit that, society may have kind of fed you, taboos, different religions still repress people who dare to, not conform.
It is very true. I just was in Israel in July, and I was staying with a lot of Orthodox Jews, and they would argue that there is no repression, that females are one way and males are another. And to some extent, I understand their polarity of what they're trying to say, but this is where modesty comes in. Modesty is a patriarchal way of dealing with a woman's sexuality and a woman's body. And it's actually a way of shaming their body. So they think that they cannot control their sexual urges, males. Therefore, to protect women, right, they need to cover themselves in modest clothing so they don't become rape victims.
Jesus.
That's legitimately what they told me. So,
and this is Orthodox?
Orthodox, yeah.
Jews.
That's not even Hasidic. I am Jewish, by the way, so just want to clear the air there. But
there's other religions where that comes up, though, too, which is
very much so.
So distorted.
Very much so. So here's an example. I'm on a trip. One of my friends, we're in broad daylight. We are in, where were we? The Red Sea. No, the Dead Sea. The super salty Dead Sea. That's where we went. And we're floating. We're in our bathing suits. We're having a good time. We come out of the water to use one of the showers to wash the salt and mud off. And a man molests my friend in broad daylight, puts his hands down her bathing suit, down the back of her bathing suit. We were all there. This is broad daylight. I was using the next water thing next to her. And this happened. I didn't see it. No one saw it somehow. But he was from Jordan. He had crossed the border and came from a very tight Muslim community where the same thing, modesty, modesty, modesty. So because this girl was wearing a bathing suit, he thought it was okay for her to touch her in that way because she was displaying her skin. Therefore, you must be displaying your skin for me, a male, to do whatever the fuck I want. And that is bullshit. Not the case. That is such bullshit. And that's why I cannot stand this modesty argument, because it is creating this stigma that if you're not covered, you're free game. I can do whatever just like these slut marches. Why I love them. They're fantastic because just because I'm wearing a short skirt or just because I have big boobies means that you have free right to touch me and be like, wow, those are big boobs. Honk. What? Where did that, how is that justified?
Yeah.
I do not understand that.
So let's look at what that could possibly be. Because, I mean, I think there's like clear power dynamics, because men don't own women's sexuality, whether they want to or not.
No.
And so there can be the attempt to try to control that.
Yes.
To think that you're not responsible for your own actions, for your own sexuality, for your own expression, and really any other part of your life is, you're either not grown up yet or you have some serious, internal shadow work and mental health stuff that you probably have to do.
Yes.
So do it. But let's kind of look at maybe some of the stuff where that came from. Is it just power dynamics? Was it just maybe a shift between, the societies and the different time period? We're talking about a long time ago. Yeah, where women's sexuality were worshipped, where you could worship the goddess.
Right.
And in a way that just paid respects, because a male, let's say a male religious person, like the people that you brought up, two different backgrounds, they worship a male god, right? Mm-hmm. So, and they have no problem with that. They heed in whatever distorted way. And I'm not a big fan of really any organized religion, but at one point in life, men would more easily submit to the power of a female and to the wisdom of a female.
And nurture, yes.
Yeah, and I was hanging out with my brother the other day, and he was talking about, I was telling him about Dom U, and he's like, so you guys like trying to take over the world? And I'm like, pretty much. And he's like, you mean until you have to like carry something heavy? And I'm like, yeah, we can, we're an equal opportunity employer. We can have male grads, but we were kind of joking around and stuff because, and he's a total gentleman, but he was referring to women being more intelligent, the women having more wisdom. And I'm not trying to go there, we're all different, but I think what is, what you can more easily explore on this platform is the gifts that women offer that are beyond this world.
Yes.
The ability to be receptive, the ability to create life, the ability to heal and transmute. And, you know, we're finally starting to get towards the recognition of soft strength.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Soft strength. Oh.
And I think we've talked about that before, and we'll talk about that some more. But just recognizing what the power of the female is, and men have it too. Men have the ability to express this feminine energy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they may not have a uterus, but you can benefit from the divine feminine in your life, 100%. Whether you're male or female or neither or whatever it is. So there's a time period I was looking at a couple articles, and there was one that was talking about the Venus of Willendorf, which is from approximately 28,000 to 25,000 BCE, before common time, and just the exaggerated sexuality of this figurine, which is pretty famous, kind of little artifact that they discovered. But there's a lot of other artifacts and different sculptures, and even whether it's on like a cave painting or, you know, carved into the rocks or something like that. It's just kind of that exalting of the female's ability to create life.
100%.
And the nurturing power of that. And, you know, that's one thing, you know, if a female's ability to nurture and transmute and to melt, you know, anger with presence hasn't been as revered as a man's ability to forcefully kill something.
Yes.
But,
exactly.
You know, we kind of need
both.
We need both, yeah.
So to touch on polarities, right? So every human has both polarities in their energetic makeup. So you have the feminine and the masculine. These work best when they are balanced. And because we are in such a patriarchal society, they are usually imbalanced because of the masculine being too much. So that's why we call in the divine feminine so much, and that's why it's coming to power, because we need that balance so we can move through and progress. I don't think it's good to be on one 100% side or another, because it's not going to balance, and you're going to function best when you're in harmony.
Yeah.
So I went to the Wailing Wall when I was in Israel. They separate. The females can go on this side and the males can go on this side. And at first, my Western view of going to the wall, I was like, this is fucking bullshit. Why are they segregating? This is crazy. But then as I started coming closer, I saw the energy. The masculine side was on the left. The feminine side was on the right. Feminine side, everybody's crying, nurturing each other, hugging each other, touching the wall. There's lots of circles. Females gathering in circles, dancing, doing things like that. On the left side, the masculine side, men are in rows. They're praying. They're not really too emotional. They're moving very rigidly, back and forth, bobbing, instead of creating this. And I saw that's what they're doing. They're separating the two polars to have this vortex. And it was so interesting, because that was the first time I kind of stepped back and saw that in a huge work, you know? So
wow.
I think it's very important to understand both sides, of course, but the need for the feminine right now is dire, because we have basically erased it from our makeup. Yeah. We don't tell men to, you know, understand their emotional side or their instincts really anymore. And it's debilitating to our society. So we're coming back, and everybody's going to learn some things. I wanted to talk about female archetypes as well. So calling in specific energies to work with. So archetypes are living energies that exist past the veil, that all humans can come in contact with. So one I really like to touch on, especially with the sex magic, is Shakti. She is the goddess of creation. So try sitting, meditating, going inside, or masturbating, or any of those things, and calling in that energy, and tell me how you feel. It is some incredible, and that is linked directly to your sacral chakra as well. And then another one is Gaia. Gaia is Mother Earth. So nurture and nature, and really surrendering to those two things. Another one is the High Priestess, which comes from Tarot, which comes from the Kabbalah. And that is intuition. It's the feminine ability to jump into intuition and receive information from outside sources that we can't really put our finger on. Last but not least, Yin Energy, the polar of the divine feminine, and expansion. So Yin expands indefinitely, and Yang pulls in.
Yeah.
Or
it kind of like contracts. It's kind of, Yang is like a furnace.
Beautiful.
And then the yin would be like, if you had like a heating system, the yin is going to carry that yang, that heat, and it's going to transmute it, and it's going to expand it so you can actually use it.
Love that. Oh, yeah. I love that. Fantastic.
So can we talk about some examples? Because this is supposed to be more of like intro level stuff, and that was definitely deep. So
got deep.
One thing I was thinking is, especially because we do actually live in a very patriarchal society. So I actually wanted to give an example of an archetype in case the idea of archetypes is like completely brand new to someone and they're like, what the hell are these chicks talking about? So one of the archetypes that I use regularly, I have it as a tattoo on my back. My father, who quit drinking and for the first time in like forever, and it's basically saved his life. He's been really kind of working with this archetype too. And that's the archetype of the phoenix. So when I think about the phoenix archetype, and correct me if I'm wrong or if you have a different idea, but I think of it as being more of a masculine archetype. And I'm not sure if it's just because it's like the ability to just like completely combust. It's a more aggressive, masculine, action by action, just full blown just destruction. Like it's basically the phoenix bursts into flames and completely like burns that shit up and then rises from the ashes. It's almost like the yin would be the bird rising from the ashes almost in a way.
Yes.
But the masculine ability to basically destroy what's not working for you and release it and allow something to be reborn is, I think, an archetype that the average person can maybe benefit from in your lives. Think about whether you had a terrible day and you just want to jump in the shower, and just taking a shower can be like your ability to completely just let go, burn up the shit of the day, and walk out of the shower completely renewed. Even though the shower seems more like a feminine way of basically more of that release, that cleansing, because water is very feminine and it's
Emotional
more of that
release.
soft.
Yep.
Yeah. Other ways, working out even can be a way of harnessing, Phoenix energy too.
Great.
Just getting that heat, just letting go. You can completely, basically renew all your cells within some days, weeks, months. You pretty much have a new cellular system. What are other ways that people can actually access the energy? Because it's not important whether or not you know what an archetype is. Yeah, right. It's just that how we can bring it into our life from a practical standpoint.
So Gaia, when I think and call in for Gaia's assistance, I think very grounding. So let's say you're having a hard time with getting aroused even, right? So having that sexual disconnect, grounding with Gaia and seeing the flowers then reappear and Imagining those things.
I started visualizing a massage.
Yeah.
Partner massage.
Partner massage would be great. A hot bath with your favorite like essential oils would be super great. That's encompassing Gaia as well. Going into the forest.
Oh, my fave.
So healing. Going into the ocean. Yes. Oh my God. So these are the things that Gaia is there with you 100%. And you will feel that energy connect and ground you without knowing what an archetype is, if that makes sense. Even looking at flowers. Let's say you want to buy some flowers or orchids. That is a super potent sexual energy plant just by looking at it. And that's Gaia. So all these things can help engage in that again. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I don't imagine people who are going to be listening to this podcast are going to be the type of people who are completely materialist, monoist type of philosophy where they don't believe in energy and they don't believe in spirit. But I know because I do not back down from debates, not even if it's with like a scientist about the nature of the soul and the nature of energy. And I remember hanging out with this dude. He was a Mensa member, and he was extremely intelligent, as you could see. And he was a male and very much had a male brain, but he had a good amount of feminine receptivity. He wasn't like a super, I think he really liked being a Mensa member, but he wasn't arrogant. He wasn't throwing it in your face. He had a lot of emotional intelligence. And I remember him saying something in a philosophical debate we were having, a friendly one. He was talking about, whatever God is, as soon as science catches up, then God and whatever spirituality will then be science. And just because we don't have science for it yet doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
So this brings me to my next topic that, since you've touched on it, is female persecution of witches and the female Holocaust, and how these people were saying anything like science was considered witchcraft. So alchemy, trying to learn about astronomy, things like this.
Even was Galileo.
Was considered.
He was a witch.
Witch and wizardry. And now is considered science, which is funny, right? That's just like learning about these subtle energy fields and quantum physics and things like that. They are trying to explain this. Just because we can't explain something scientifically doesn't mean that it is not real. And they would love you to believe the opposite, but that is not the case. It's just they don't know how to explain it in a scientific way. But science and spirituality are very much so connected and very much two of the same, in my opinion. So back to like the persecution of empowered females. So let's say, like you made a joke earlier about some girl, masturbating in the forest by herself, and they were like, she's a witch, get her, because she's independently being sexual.
Just do my thing.
Yeah, just
leave me alone. I don't need you.
Please.
I'm good at this.
Yeah, I got this. I know my own body. Leave me alone. So that was considered witchcraft. So women with personal power. Also, I found out that women with like bigger breasts were usually condemned to be witches because the devil made them so tempting.
Oh my God.
And just
ludicrous.
Women gathering,
like
we are right now, and talking about things was also considered witchcraft. And that was it. We weren't allowed to understand ourselves. We had to be a thing, not a person. We were there to make babies and continue the church's will. or the Pope or whoever was in charge at that point. I believe there were popes by then.
Got to get them numbers in the church.
Yeah, and gotta grow that faith. So
wow,
that was.
Wonder what that happened.
Something.
How you can go from like, you know, just the yonis and the, the exaggerated female, sexuality, like being worshipped and admired, to basically claiming any woman who was nonconformist and, didn't want to fuck you to be a witch. Yep. And how many people did you say died in the...
9 million women. 9 million women.
That is insane. I remember Eckhart Tolle talking about that. And I listened to like anything he kind of puts out. I love Eckhart Tolle, so I can't remember what it was. I think it was. I'll put that up later. We'll give him some love another time. But he refers to a common pain body. That all women share because of that, because it was an actual female Holocaust. And we're talking about over the course of a couple hundred years, but just the blatant slaughter for no reason, and to repress women, not just because of, physical force and the slaughtering, but to try to systematically take away their independence, take away, their non-reliance on men, their non-reliance on the marriage system, the church, and all that stuff, and to basically force people into hiding, and
totally,
it's just absolutely insane to think about that, and to recognize, and it really kind of hit home for me because I feel like I'm a very old soul, and I probably had some very, very witchy I'm gonna go ahead and say
absolutely.
Yeah. Even more witchy than I am now.
So that is so true. And the amount of pain these women endured. This was torture. It was not just like, all right, you're dead now. It was medieval torture for all of women that were in their clutches. So of course we experienced this residual pain body that our ancestors had that needs to be eradicated and dealt with and accepted. And then how do we become empowered after this instead of staying from this victim standpoint?
We have to expand,
Absolutely.
To move past that type of trauma.
We need to expand and heal.
Yeah. And I think for a lot of people, they might hear something like that and sometimes people can be really insensitive. You see that, in the different challenges that we have in our society, like with racial injustice. You see this lack of sensitivity to the fact that there really are repercussions that, when you hold someone back and when you push people down, you're repressing in a way, you're repressing life itself.
Yes.
And so it's, unfortunately, I think to some extent the men share some of that pain of Absolutely. The repression of the feminine and our own sexuality, because it wasn't just the systematic, basically removal of the, female liberation, especially sexuality, especially, outside of the marriage, but you see it in religions basically trying to take that away from men too, and like Absolutely. Different moral crusader movements in history where, the sanctity of marriage and sex was just solely for reproduction rather than fun. And what a disappointment. Can you imagine just like banging and like, okay, let's try to make a baby for God and church and our neighbors. Okay. But I can't imagine like being a female and like not being like, all right, I'm going to do my thing. Like, I'm going to take the reins. Like, I'm going to, you know what I mean? Because
it's insane. Yeah.
And I wonder if that's still, is still a problem with women.
Yes, it is. So I had a very good friend in Nashville. She grew up Pentecostal holiness. With this, I forget the author's name, but there was this man or husband and wife that would create these books for courting the Christian way.
What?
Yes. And how lust was such a sin that, you needed to feel so guilty just for liking someone or getting feelings, not actually acting on them, just those feelings alone, you were condemned. What the fuck would that do to your psyche when you finally do find someone and you've been told that sex and these feelings are bad your entire life, that you cannot have these unless you're married. Then you get married at 18 because you're fucking horny and you marry this chick and now you guys want to have sex, but now there's all of this emotional baggage and you can't break through. And this is supposed to be fun, but every time I have sex, I have an anxiety attack because my fucking pastor told me that this was wrong.
Yeah.
For my entire life. I couldn't even hold someone's hand. I couldn't think about holding someone's hand. Or I'm going to hell. Like, what?
Insane.
But this still happens today. Still happens.
I don't think we understand our sexuality enough. And I think, especially because we're such energetic beings. We're not just flesh and blood. We have full-blown energy systems, that connect us, to the rest of the world, to other people, to source, to other worlds, to past lives. And so we have, and there's so much out there that you can read up and learn about your own energy. And to think about the stigma and to not understand it too, because sometimes, you have weird matching energy with people or you have chemistry, with people and you have to have boundaries, obviously, if you're going to, protect areas of your life that you need to protect, but to not actually understand how to work with that, recognizing matching energy. There's been times in, I mentioned to you I was taking an energy class right now, a clairvoyance class, but I've taken a number of different energy work classes from this school. And one of the things that's been really helpful for me is, kind of learning how to turn down the lower chakras.
Yes.
Maybe I'm in a certain area and I feel the sexual energy, not trying to bring it in, not trying to heal you right now. And I'm able to kind of turn it down and just, and I'll turn down the solar plexus chakra too. And I'll just go up into my heart so that, I'm not picking up all this sexual energy. And I'm able to meet the next person. Maybe you meet this perfect stranger. Maybe it's the person checking you out and there's just weird vibes or whatever. And instead of just, kind of putting up a wall and be like, oh my God, fire and whatever.
Yeah.
It's, you can more so just be up in your heart chakra. And you can just be in your heart and you can meet another person in the heart or above. There's ways of learning how you can work with energy, grounding the sacral chakra to purge competitive energy.
Oh, that's brilliant.
We don't even need to go into where that has, found a way to come into and just thrive in our life. But and then matching energy, how to kind of transmute matching energy. There's some different energy I've been working too, where I feel different energy of strangers, and I just do some different energy techniques that just kind of neutralize it. And I'll feel it and I'll do them a favor. Okay, I'm gonna explode some roses right here. Yes. I'm going to neutralize this shit, but I'm not picking it up. I have my boundaries, I meet them in the heart, I look them in the eyes. I recognize the fact that we're all complex creatures, and more than just flesh and blood. And we need to learn how to start having tools and so we can start releasing the pain, the shame, that heavy, distorted energy that we're holding on to because we haven't been encouraged well enough to explore, transmute, and release it.
That is touching on shame. That is a deep-rooted one, especially in the female body, of just shame of our bodies, shame of our sexuality, shame of sex, period. I know a lot of women that have never touched their own vagina.
What?
Which is really shocking to me. Have never had an orgasm, not by themselves.
Oh my God.
Or from someone else. They've had tons of sex, but they've never had an orgasm. They're like, what? Oh my God. So really understanding yourself can open up so many other doors of joy and fulfillment when you tap in and explore. So especially dealing with shame on that forefront and seeing where is this stemming from?
Like the shame of enjoying your sexuality?
Shame of enjoying your sexuality.
That seems like a big culprit. You know, the shame of enjoying it outside of, you know, the marriage bed.
Is a big one. And why would you get married first, then have sex with that person? Obviously, those people who told you to do that have never had great sex, I'm assuming, because that's a big old gamble. That's a real... And chemistry plays into sexuality tenfold. If you don't have sexual chemistry, you may be compatible friends, but not sexually compatible. Then what? Now you're married. For what? Because you never explored your sexual identity before. You relied on someone telling you how to explore it. So that is and I encourage everybody to, of course, have consensual sex, but explore. You don't know what you like until you've done it and you go, I don't like that. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So maybe you think you're gay, right? And you've never touched a penis. Let's say lesbian. Okay. You've never touched a penis, but you're like, well, how do you know that? How do you know that? You don't until you try. Why would you put up a wall and say, I only like this kind of people or this specific kind of thing? When in reality, you've never tried any of the other flavors or choices. How could you know that you don't like that? So I think sexual exploration, that's a whole nother topic and episode we should go on, is very healthy when you have your own boundaries and know what is okay and what is not for you to explore. So I encourage that 100% as well.
That's key. And I mean, I think the safest start is just really just fucking yourself.
That is
really
so
enjoying
true.
It.
Really?
Absolutely.
I am an extremely sexual being. Like since I was like 12. Like as soon as I got my period, it was like, whoop, whoop. And everybody told me I couldn't have those feelings because I was too young to have those feelings. But I was like, well,
double Scorpio, bitch.
But I'm having these feelings. Can you tell me how to deal with them instead of telling me that they're not real and therefore discrediting my existence? So, but I had to explore a lot from a very, I guess, young age by myself, but I've learned so much. And then I can teach it to aka this podcast. I want to help encourage other people to do these things. And I think that's what's so awesome about this modern sexuality. Mm-hmm. And the expression has come a very long, long way. And right now we can talk about this on a podcast, which is so awesome, which, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Just 20 years ago, that would be like Howard Stern was like, whoa, really pushing it. But it was a male. It wasn't like a female talking about sex that much. So it's very interesting.
What's funny is that I've had to deal like in my own kind of healing, and I'm very pro, examine the recesses of your mind, examine your thoughts, examine your beliefs as part of like my daily, meditation rituals, is to really kind of look within. And to some extent, when I've looked at different ways to express my own divine feminine, my own sexuality, or more so just like my own, how would I say this? The fact that I'm so into esoteric stuff, and I talk about it like it's completely normal, and yet, I in the corporate world, and I noticed that I had a lot of fear when I think about my, inner witch. Yes. When I think about the things that are about me that are different, the fact that I work with energy, and that I have this, a very, very spiritual experience from the moment I wake up to when I go to bed and I dream, so it's a very big part of my life. And I noticed that I had a lot of fear and fully expressing that. Well, what I put on Facebook, oh, someone's going to look at me and they're going to judge me and I'm different. I'm not religious. I don't go to church and I don't listen to country music, and I think to some extent that makes me stand out, especially where I work, and a lot of the orientation, to a completely different lifestyle where, I listen to Native American flutes and, and I meditate and I run energy and I do all that. I've been to sweat lodges and I do all this stuff. And I realized that I had a lot of fear there. And I think it kind of came from, being persecuted in past lives, being a witch in a past life. And unfortunately, and I feel like I've actually moved through that a lot. But I think recognizing that and just doing the deep energy work, meditation, masturbation's great. Learning energy techniques will be really helpful. Belly dance. I want to do like an entire episode on belly dance. I actually want to bring one of my old teachers on. Belly dance will change your entire life. And just to kind of share some stuff, I'm going to get kind of graphic, a little graphic. But anyway.
This is the place to do it.
Yes. I had taken a long break from belly dance, and I was getting back into it. And I noticed how much better sex is, which I knew about, but I had kind of forgotten. And sometimes I'm speaking to every single woman out there now where sometimes, sex hurts. Yeah. You're just not like whatever's going on, and I'm short. Like I'm like 5'2" and 3/4, 5/8 on a bad day. But I'm like, I just don't have a lot of room, between my bones and my organs and all like my innards. And so,
wide set cervix, if you will.
No, I'm small. Yeah. I'm small. And sometimes, maybe you just have inflammation in the body or whatever. And sometimes sex can be really painful. Yeah. But when I belly dance, I am in complete control. Even if I'm on my back, I am in complete control, because belly dance not only makes your Kegel muscles so strong, it basically tonifies the inside of the body. It opens up, gets the Kundalini energy, gets it moving. So it already gives you a chance to kind of release some of the pressure, some of the baggage, some of the stuck, blocked energy that's there. And you're already in a better place to enjoy the interchange of, penetration. Totally. So that's one of the ways that I feel like that's one of my sex magic rituals is belly dance. What are some other things that have worked for you that, just like everyday practical things? Because we definitely got into a lot of esoteric here, which, inevitably we will. And this is really kind of like the first place that you start. If you're going to talk about magic and energy and stuff, it's going to be easier for people to relate, because whether or not you repress and deny your sexuality, it's still there.
Absolutely. I think a beneficial tool that I use every day is music, for sure. I think music can create that kind of sexual energy and environment. And dancing. Dancing is also using that Kundalini. Anything that you can do. Hula hooping. Hooping. Oh my God. I had one of the biggest orgasms after hula hooping. I had no idea. Way. And I think what it is the circulation, like the circular movements, which is very feminine, right? So you're working your hips, but you're also loosening the fascia in your hips and everywhere else to expand and utilize that full movement, right? Yeah. Same with belly dance. Belly dance, there's a lot of cyclical movements and a lot of circulation. So that Everybody, ladies, get some fucking hula hoops. Let me tell you what. What else helps? Exercise.
Yeah.
Exercise totally helps as well. I think that heightens that sexual energy.
Yeah, just the connection between the mind and the body.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So a lot of us are so in our minds. Mm-hmm. Some of us are not there, but there's a couple other, how can we take this to another level? You talked about, before we started, about owning your personal story. We've talked about shame. We all have trauma, whether you're male or female, whether you're a witch in another life or you weren't, whether or not you had kind of a repressed childhood from religion or, other people in your lives. But what are some of the ways that we can learn how to own our personal story? Because, doing the energy work, doing the physical stuff, will help, bridge the two. But what are some other ways that we can really heal?
To heal our own traumas is to no longer look at ourselves as a victim, but to be empowered by these circumstances that maybe that were the result of the trauma, right? So let's say making peace with yourself, no longer blaming yourself, no longer being angry with yourself. This is where self-love comes in heavy. So we are our biggest culprits of detriment. So we talk the most shit to ourselves. We physically harm ourselves more than... Think about how many times you like zip up a skirt and you're like, this is so uncomfortable. I fucking hate it, but damn, I look good. Whatever. And then you physically make yourself uncomfortable for someone else's benefit, which is kind of...
Yeah, or like
backwards.
A distorted,
very
distorted,
viewpoint. Or just looking at yourself in the mirror. Do you suck in your stomach when you look in the mirror and turn your head a certain way so your lighting hits you in a certain angle? A lot of people do that. Accepting yourself for who you are right now and for all the things that you have been through and appreciating that.
Yeah.
That is the key. It is not an easy process by any means, but it is so necessary to heal from trauma.
Yeah.
Is look how much you've gone through and look how strong you still are. You're still here. You're still doing things. Look how far you've come. And it comes, from sexual trauma or maybe just art in general. Maybe you're like drawing something and you hate the way it looks and you never want to share it because it's an ugly doodle. Well, that's never going to get out there and nothing's ever going to change if you constantly sit in that same viewpoint, right?
Yeah.
So by changing your viewpoint and accepting the process of what you're doing, you will get better. Yeah, that was a shitty thing that happened, or maybe that was a terrible drawing, but that's part of your history. You have to accept yourself and accept your history so you can make new things happen and be empowered and have control and have vision of where you want to go. Because if you constantly are stuck in lack mode, so coming from a place of lack and I'm not good enough, my body's not good enough to wear a bathing suit this year, or I can't do this, or I don't want to go shopping because I feel bad about myself, or all these things are all instilled by your own self. And the only way to break these down is to break them down yourselves. Let these walls and old stigmas break away, break down, crumble, or old patterns. And you really have to look at those and go, why am I carrying this around still? Why am I still being a victim of this? Why am I allowing to give my power to whoever did this to me? Why am I still waiting for an apology from no one or from someone that will never give me an apology?
Yeah.
You have to send love and healing to yourself.
And bring in validation too.
Ooh, that is a big one.
And I think to some extent, like, people have tried to distort the idea of validation. Like, oh, she's just looking for validation. Well, mind your own damn business, because validation is really important. Don't compare yourself to anyone else.
No.
Because the things that make you the most beautiful, the things that make you the most empowered, all come from the same source.
Yes.
And that's the light, keeping your compass, in the upright, pointed north position to receive the light of your own soul and the universe. And so sometimes we have to bring in validation. It's okay for you to be you. And, it's not okay when people wrong you. It's not okay, the chaos that we have on earth. So you don't have to bring validation to the people who hurt you, but you need to bring validation into, just yourself as a person. And unfortunately, some of the strongest people, some of the most brave, self-sacrificing people have been hurt the most. And they have, on the flip side, they have the greatest ability to rise up stronger and to be more powerful and to be, larger than life because of what they had to go through. And that's a complex process that, you gave a lot of great tips, and some of it might need therapy. I use Bach flower essences. The flower for moving past trauma, Star of Bethlehem. You can buy it at a health food store, and it's helpful in bringing the vibration that is larger than that trauma, and allows you to move beyond it. And then it just starts slipping away when you can continually kind of shift up. But it's all of a process. It's a journey, looking at the areas of your life where, maybe you weren't happy about how you handle something, maybe someone disrespected you or, and it's just, unfortunately, we have to recognize the fact that we're all connected. You might be a victim and a part of the, on the flip side, you're also the perpetrator. And, we all have to find a way to shift, to lift those up, because that person who might be, holding humanity back because he's right on the edge of a downward spiral of the darkness, we have to find a way to bring grace, with soft strengths, with, sometimes it's got to be tough love. Sometimes it's got to be an ass whooping.
Yep.
I'm not against ass whoopings by any chance.
No,
but for the most part, energetically, is where we really need to, look first and foremost, because that will start to reshape, the present and inevitably the future.
I love that. And yes, what wisdom. I love what you just said. But coming back to basically embracing your uniqueness and your true self will make you the most fulfilled that you can be here. So if everybody did what they were uniquely talented and put on this earth to do, whether it be make, kitty cat sculptures out of Play-Doh or, some intense energetic work for healing, do what makes you you, and you will not be askewed. You will be so fulfilled and so happy when you break away from these societal stigmas that make you follow this
the latest trend,
or follow just like sheep, well, my dad did this, so now I do this. Well, why? And validating your own self-worth, if that makes sense. Knowing that you are worth it, and you are worth the time to explore, and you're worth, learning these new things to make you happy. You're worth being happy, or you're worthy of joy, which we forget a lot of the times.
Yeah. That's all good inner work, and I think that's a good start. It's supposed to be a journey. Yeah. So, any final thoughts that you want to have, Miss Officer of Sex Magic?
Go masturbate.
All right. Yes, Teach. That's like the best homework ever. Masturbate, And then talk about how you're,
maybe start a journal.
Oh my God.
Masturbation
journal.
Sex magic journal.
You're a genius.
And see what actually you can manifest with those upsurging orgasms, or what you can release with those exploding orgasms. So try that, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening.
Hell yeah.
That would be really, really great. All right.
I love it. Chelsea from the Office of Sex Magic. Rawr. Well, thank you so much. Can't wait to explore some more topics with you. This is fun, important stuff, and it's very powerful. And we're not going to worry about the taboo.
Embrace the taboo, baby.
Yes.
Let's get weird.
Rock on. Awesome. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you.